Well, I know there are a lot of Hammer film fans out there, and many of you may have been wondering what is going on in 2025. There's a resurgence of releases, and the crown jewel in that is The Curse of Frankenstein, just released on 4K. And that's in partnership with Warner Brothers, as they were partners on the original film release. Well, we're going to talk to two people from Hammer Films, and we're going to hear directly from them about the haunting return of Hammer Films and what it means for the fans. Hello and welcome to The Extras. I'm Tim Millard, your host, and today I'm joined by George Feltenstein of the Warner Archive and two very special guests from Hammer Films. Steve Rogers of Archive and Product Development and Head of Restoration, Mark Stanborough. Hey guys.
Hello.
Welcome.
I know there's a lot of excitement for this 4K release of Curse of Frankenstein, but before we get into the restoration and details about the extras, there's a lot we could talk about, I think, about the new developments going on at Hammer Films. And Steve, I thought maybe you could start us there and tell us a little bit about this haunting return of Hammer.
Certainly. Well, 2023, Hammer was in a bit of trouble. It was actually in liquidation. And it was bought up by John Gore. Now, John Gore is a very nice man. I've met him personally, but he's also a lifelong fan of Hammer, back to when he was a small boy. And he wanted to do right by Hammer. Anyone who loves Hammer films when they was a kid, there's a nostalgia there and a love and everything like that. And it was felt, I think, by a lot of fans over the last couple of decades that, you know, there's some really good films, Woman in Black, Let Me In, etc., etc. But, you know, what about the 50 years worth of films before that? And when John Gore took over the company, part of the ethos was that we respect the past as much as we look forward to building new things in the future. So there are new Hammer productions. There will be new Hammer productions, but they're not at the expense of the wonderful back catalogue of films that, you know, everyone loves. So the question was then, how do we respect the past? How do we do this?
Right.
And there's not that many archives that have been continuously refreshed on every single flavor of home video you can think of. VHS, Laserdisc, DVD, another DVD, a different DVD on top of that, Blu-ray, etc., etc. So it was obvious that it had to be 4K.
Right.
And when you do stuff like that, it's not just, as Mark can explain, it's not just, oh, we'll do a 4K restoration. There's a whole process before that where you need to find the best available elements, etc., etc. So we knew this was a big job going in. And due to historical deals made in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, there are certain films where Hammer owns all rights. There are certain films where Hammer owns no rights. And there are certain films in the middle. So for Curse of Frankenstein, you have a situation where the distribution rights are split between Hammer and Warner's. There are other films where there's like 4 or 5 companies in the mix, so it can get a bit complex. But, you know, Curse of Frankenstein is Curse of Frankenstein. It's one of the big 3. And it's one of those films where you can't rush it. You know, if you rush it, people will know. So as a consequence, one of the first conversations that Mark had 2 years ago was picking up the conversation with George about, can we do this? If so, how do we do this? And it was a good conversation in many ways, not least of which that it was revisiting and reinvigorating a relationship between Hammer and Warner's that goes back to the 1950s.
Well, let me jump in here, Steve. Before we get too far into Curse of Frankenstein, what was kind of the new management comes in and then it's like we're honing in on Curse?
Yes. Well, yeah. I mean that was, we knew that would be a big deal, and we obviously didn't want to start with a big deal because there's learning curves. I mean, Hammer had never, everyone, like I said, you won't get a more thrashed back catalogue than Hammer on all of the home video formats. However, in all of those instances, not once did Hammer do its own release. Never done it. It had always been licensed out. So we decided that we would do these in-house. And we further decided that a Hammer release of a Hammer film would be definitive, because it had to be, because the expectation would be there from the fans. And so we decided to start with, because we've only been doing this, it feels like forever, but we've only been doing this for a year. In terms of releasing, I mean, Mark has been working on restorations of these things for a significant amount longer than that. But in terms of our home video releases, that started at the beginning of the year with Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter. That was chosen for many reasons, not least of which, when we first started doing it, it was its 50th anniversary, and the stars are still alive. But the deal is that Hammer releases of Hammer films should be definitive.
Yeah.
And that starts with the restoration. And the restoration starts with the best available materials, which sounds simple, but in actuality can result in a global search.
Yeah. Yeah.
Part of, I'm sure Mark can confirm this, that sometimes it's a hard job. We have to deal with public archives, company archives, private archives sometimes, if they've got the best material.
I was just going to say, sorry, Steve. The thing is, to get through to the right people is one of the biggest problems. If you're not talking to the right person, then you're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah,
which is why these the relationship building that we've done at Hammer over the last 2 years with Warner's and others is crucial to what we've been doing this year and what we plan to do going forwards. I don't want to jump straight into Curse of Frankenstein, because there's a little bit more to tell before that. But it is the poster child for how good these conversations can be to the benefit of everyone. Because, all of a sudden the entire US and UK have access to a classic of the genre in the best that it's ever looked.
Where did it all begin? The most complex thing known to man. Man himself. It's no longer sufficient to bring the dead back to life. We must create from the beginning.
Oh, what you're saying is nonsense. A revolt against nature.
We hold in the palms of our hands such secrets that have never been dreamed of.
Won't you understand you're in real danger? What Victor is doing is dangerous to everyone in the house.
Then what are you trying to tell me, Paul? That Victor's wicked? Insane?
This can never end in anything but evil.
It's what I've done that counts. I've created a being.
Stop what you're doing before it's too late. Don't be afraid.
I'd kill you.
Don't you see you've created a monster?
That doesn't matter. I'm creating a being that will live and breathe. I'll give you life again.
What a terrific release. It's so wonderful to hear about the fact that Hammer and Warner Brothers are working together on these. And I know you have more films that historically have been worked on. So we can hope maybe that in the future, this if this release is successful, that more could happen in the future, George?
Now that we have reinvigorated the partnership, I'm looking for every opportunity to join forces with these wonderful folks and keep the Warner Hammer relationship alive and thriving.
That's fantastic. And meanwhile, I know you've announced a few other titles that Hammer is going to be releasing as well. So you're very busy over there at Hammer, just reinvigorating the company with all of these releases. I think one was Men of Sherwood Forest. Is that your next one?
That should be due out in about 2 weeks. Yes, I mean the whole thing is a rolling program,
right?
And what we've done this year and what we'll be doing going forward is a mixture of stone cold classics, Frankenstein, Quatermass, etc., with rarities, because they're sort of historically they've been ignored and loved, but they are part. I mean, Hammer. This is we've just come out of our 90th anniversary. You know, there's a lot of films in there.
Yeah,
I think there's close to 200 different productions, of which only maybe 20% perhaps were horror or horror centric. So it's really nice to shine a spotlight on these films. And some people might look at them and say, "What? That's a Hammer?" And it's like, well, yeah, it is. And it's in the beginning, back in January, which seems like a million years ago now. We started with Kronos, and people went, "Yay, horror's brilliant!" And then the next one was Four-Sided Triangle, which, if anything, is sort of like a science noir type thing. And we confused people, I think. But by the time we got to about the fifth release, the second Quatermass film, fans were really on board with it. They understood what we were doing. They understood the package that we were creating with all of the context and special features, etc. And that buoyed us up, and we knew because at that point we were working on Curse of Frankenstein. It's like, okay, this one's for the fans.
Yeah,
and it's been so successful. This mixture of rarities and classics, and that's what we're going to be doing going forward. And I'm sure there's lots of opportunities with our good friends at Warner's here, because as well as 3 films on which we share distribution rights, there's a handful more from the late 60s, early 70s, where Warner's have distribution rights, but they were made by Hammer. So there's lots of potential going forward for other things, which I'm sure the fans will love, as well I, and as will Mark as well, because we're fans.
Mark, you're going to be busy. Steve, you're going to be busy this year. It sounds like you've been very, very busy with all of these releases. What a year for Hammer. It's so great to see this resurgence of physical media for the collectors and the fans of these great films. And if you're a fan of horror, I think, what are you going to say? This is a must-have. I mean, Curse, it's a must-have. So hopefully everybody is getting their copy, or if they haven't yet, if they're waiting till the holidays, well, here we are, just in time for the holidays as well. This is a huge thumbs up release, and what a wonderful, wonderful collaboration between Warner Brothers and Hammer Films. And thank you for all coming on and sharing the story with the fans.
Thank you, Tim and Mark and Steve. It's really an honor to be on the extras with you to celebrate this wonderful joint effort. We're very, very pleased to work with you and look forward to the future.
Thanks. We're both loving what we're doing, and things can only get better. It's brilliant. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed that conversation with Steve Rogers and Mark Stanborough, and of course George Feltenstein of the Warner Archive. And I want to thank them again for coming on the extras. Now, my conversation with them went on for nearly an hour, so I'm going to break out a couple other videos, and one's going to focus on the film, The Curse of Frankenstein, when it came out, how important that was to Hammer, to horror fans, and to the legacy, and why it's such an important film. And then there'll be another one that really deep dives into this 4K release. We're going to talk about the Hammer UK version. We'll also talk about how it's different from the Warner Brothers US and worldwide version. And we'll get into more specifics about how they came about with the extras and thinking about what they wanted to include on that. So for those of you who really want to hear more about the restoration and extras, that will be a great one. And you'll be alerted to it if you are subscribed to our channel. If you haven't yet subscribed, you may want to do that so you're alerted when these videos are posted. So for fans of Hammer, it's been a great 2025. and it sounds like there's a lot to look forward to in the coming years.